Good afternoon, fellow Beyond the Gates viewers. Here to talk about today's Thursday 9/11 episode of Beyond the Gates. And another solid episode. I've enjoyed this week of the show immensely. I will say that they've done a really good job with Ted this week, giving him fire again. So much so that the fact that Ted, nor Leslie, nor Eva were on today was a little disappointing. I'm not going to lie. It did take some of the entertainment away, which means I'm starting to feel like how I felt the first few months of the show when I enjoyed when those characters were on, because I knew it was either going to be some drama or some fine entertainment. But today was still entertaining. I guess we'll start with Chelsea and transition into Bill and Dani and Hayley. But yeah, Chelsea still dealing with the aftermath of the ordeal with Allison. We talked about yesterday how the show did some really good commentary on social media and how social media can breed psychos, how social media can breed people obsessed with people. Apologies for the sirens. Maybe they're catching someone that's obsessed and psychotic. I will say today's episode, Chelsea was talking about how she wants to delete all of her social media, which I think would be a natural step for her to think that way after feeling like she did something that made Allison obsessed with her. That was the conversation she had with Kat and her mother today. Kat was being a little selfish, typical of Kat, really. But, I still feel like Kat was trying to help Chelsea too. They're very close, but Kat was concerned for the Chelsea Cat bag business, that if Chelsea deletes her social media, then it's going to be bad business for them. Dani gave some great points to Chelsea, though. She can use her fan base for good, maybe make people have a good cause, like anti-violence, violent relationships. Put that out there on her social media. She can champion some good causes. That was some good advice from her mother. Then Bill arrived, and I liked what we saw. I liked that Bill and Chelsea got to have the conversation about him not knowing about Chelsea's relationship with Madison. Bill being able to tell Chelsea that he is open to all of her relationships. He's not going to judge her, and he's happy for her. But more importantly, we got to see Chelsea get to react to how close Dani and Bill have become because of Chelsea's ordeal and them worrying over her. So at one point today, Bill called Dani babe, which was kind of a shock to Chelsea's system, that it seemed like they were acting like her parents again. And the show has these past 2 weeks of episodes, I know it wasn't on last week, but the episode prior and this week, really pushing Bill and Dani close together and trying to slowly redeem Bill. I don't want them to ever fully redeem Bill. I think Bill needs to have his villainous side. But this is a show where everyone is pretty much a great character, and I have to respect that. That's not typical of soap operas these days. It makes for compelling characters. I do still wish this show had a little bit better heroes in general, but that's not today's nitpicking issue. I don't really have any nitpicky. Well, Ashley and Derek. We'll get to that, though. As for Bill and Dani, I do feel like they're trying to soft launch a little bit of redemption for Bill, because something's going to happen between Bill and Dani. Something. I don't know if it will just be physical or beyond, but something's eventually about to happen. And that brings us to Hayley. Hayley continues to be mad that Bill is shutting her out. She's annoyed that everyone is acting like she doesn't exist, and that's what's been happening since Chelsea was in trouble. Bill's trying to explain to Hayley that he's concerned about his daughter and that Chelsea's in a fragile state, and that's kind of taking most importance in his life right now. So they got into a little squabble that Bill's secretary, or I don't know what she is exactly, but Caroline, I believe is her name, she showed up to see that. And then later, Hayley and Caroline had a conversation about how Bill's keeping her isolated. Hayley didn't even know too much about the Chelsea Cat line that Caroline was kind of obsessing about. And so Caroline kind of gave Hayley the idea that maybe if the scenario was reversed, Bill might feel the same way. Maybe Bill would be jealous himself since Hayley's feeling like Bill is more preoccupied with Dani, which led to Hayley and Caroline talking to Tomas about planning some surprise party for Bill, which I guess makes Bill a Virgo, which is kind of surprising. But I think Hayley's main plot is going to try and make Bill jealous with Tomas. That is the vibe I got by the end of the episode. I don't know what that means for Kat and Tomas. I don't know what that means for Eva and Tomas. But honestly, if it gets Tomas away from both of them, that's best case scenario. Hayley using Thomas is a great idea for both characters. So I'm all for it. We'll see what Hayley does in her new villainous side. But I like those scenes today. I like that Hayley continues to panic over Bill and Dani. Speaking of troubles in relationships, we got to see Doug for the first time in a while. I know somebody just mentioned in the comments yesterday they're wondering what Doug's been up to since he's unemployed. Well, he's having the time of his life. He tried to explain to Randy today that he's trying to back off of Joey. He thinks a good thing he can do is to just use Joey for money since Joey is paying Vanessa and Doug is getting a piece of the pie. He's saying that he and Vanessa could go on a second honeymoon with all this money rolling in. Randy had a lot of warnings for Doug to make sure that Joey doesn't come after them. Randy was definitely not wanting to go forward with any type of getting revenge on Joey or trying to take down Joey because Randy thinks it will cost him his life. The more juicier stuff was Doug talking about his marriage with Vanessa and where Joey stands because he had Vanessa break things off with Joey. Doug, of course, not so certain he can take Vanessa at face value, but apparently he's been having Vanessa tailed and she hasn't been around Joey lately. That changed today, though. Vanessa visited Joey. Vanessa had a business proposal. Joey was distracted. Joey was upset because Vanessa's the one that broke things off, and now she's here seemingly for no reason. They got into this conversation about how, Vanessa and Doug have had this open relationship. It's been different with Joey, though, because the involvement between Doug and Joey. Vanessa saying she loves her husband and won't be responsible for something happening to him, and that's why she had to break things off with Joey. Joey then asked that if he gave her assurance that Doug will remain unharmed, then what does that change? And it seemed to change a whole lot. Joey said he was fine with them lying to Doug, but that he doesn't want lies told to him from her, and then put it on the table that she seems as addicted to him as he is to her, so they kissed, started to do more in the back of the casino like they've done before. But since Doug has had Vanessa tailed, here he was walking into them, making out, about to have sex, and catching them together. So I don't know what the fallout there will be, but it doesn't look like Doug's going to have these good feelings about how he could just leave Joey alone because he's getting Joey's money. And I don't know how Joey's going to feel if Doug's going to be threatening him again. I think the story needs to take a turn. I don't know if it's a dark turn with someone's death. I don't know what the turn is. But now that Doug is finding them together again, I do think it needs to change some kind of direction, because if not, it's just going to get redundant, which we've seen from the show sometimes. Not nearly as bad as other American soap operas these days, though. So I give Beyond the Gates credit for that. While some stories do get redundant, they're hardly as bad as some of these other shows. So I enjoyed the Doug and Vanessa and Joey stuff today, but I am hoping that it starts to take a different turn. And then lastly, Derek's rehabilitation. Derek is not telling anyone that he felt something in his legs yesterday. I didn't watch all the Derek and Ashley scenes because I never will again, because they're so boring with no chemistry. But it seems as like Derek is going to use his condition, even though it seems to be changing. He's not going to tell anybody, and he's going to use it to make Ashley feel sorry for him, or just feel for him in general. Who cares, though? Who's asking for this? We are now, at least the show had 2 months at least of hearing viewer reactions to the first 2 months of the show, where we all shit all over Derek and Ashley. I feel like the show took our concerns about Ashley and Andre very seriously, but they don't know what to do with the characters. They want to keep them around, but Derek and Ashley still don't work. And the most annoying thing is that they still have Shanice like championing for Ashley and Derek to be together, when the truth is Shanice and Derek actually do have chemistry, and the show has ruined that potential by making her a cheerleader for Derek and Ashley. The Ashley character continues to be a anchor to the damn show. I don't know when they're finally going to get it together and change something there, but they haven't yet. But once again, typical, other than Derek and Ashley, it was another good episode this week.